Hey YouTube, so this is Lilokin. So I had a request from Ariander Ravenheart, and she wanted me to touch on the subject of the Witch's Pyramid some more. So I thought I would do that. So I hope you enjoy and stick around. So what we've come to associate today as the Witch's Pyramid actually comes from Eliphas Levi's Transcendental Magic, which I'm going to go into a little deeper. But he associates it with the Sphinx, and I'm sure that even goes back farther. So as far as the Witch's Pyramid is concerned, if you look at this diagram here, the starting in the upper left-hand corner is Auder to Dare, which is associated with the west and water. Lower left is Vele, which is to will, associated with the south and fire. Moving over to the right is Noseri, or sometimes I've heard Skyer or Noskyer, to know, which is associated with the east and air. And then upper right is a Tesseri, or to keep silent. The very top of the pyramid is called Ire, or to go, sometimes also the goal, or sometimes people will associate it with the Wiccan reed. If you want to look at the pentagram, then to go is the spirit at the very upper top. Going to the left, to will, which is fire. Lower left, to know, which is air. Going right, lower right, to be silent, which is associated with earth. And then upper right, to dare, water. So it's just different ways of writing it. However, what I'm going to go into is the importance of each one of these powers of the Magi, as I'm going to refer to them later on. So, to know, to dare, to will, and to keep silent comes, I get it from Transcendental Magic, its doctrine and ritual, which was written by Eliphas Levi, who lived between 1810 and 1875. He wrote Transcendental Magic between 1854 and 1856. The four powers of the Magi comes from his first chapter called The Candidate, more specifically page 30, where he mentions the terms to know, to dare, to will, and to keep silent as the four indispensable conditions of the Magi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the context of these terms, I'm going to look at their opposites, and then I'm going to delve a little deeper into each one of them through Eliphas Levi's own writings. So when he's talking about the indispensable conditions of the Magi, he is saying that it is the first one, to know, is an intelligence illuminated by study. To dare is an intrepidity. Intrepidity means a courage or a fearlessness which nothing can check. To will is a will which nothing can break. To keep silent is a discretion which nothing can corrupt. Corrupt meaning to ruin, taunt, or spoil, and nothing intoxicate meaning to overwhelm or to poison. So often at times to better understand things or to gain another perspective, I look at the opposites of things, or their polar opposites. So to know, the opposite is to be ignorant. To dare, the opposite is to be fearful. To will, the opposite is to succumb. The opposite of to keep silent is to be too talkative or to reveal too much. Now this brings up an important point which I want to mention, because this is my interpretation of this book. I think that often we hear about mystery traditions, and mystery traditions are one of the benefits of a mystery tradition is it is unique to each individual, and each individual has their own interpretation of things. So this is just my viewpoint of this book. If you read it yourself, you may gain or have a completely different opinion about it, or a different interpretation. And I think that's one of the great things about our community. One of the things that we often sometimes forget is that we're all having our own experience about how we deal with, or how we experience our own beliefs and our own systems. So we get caught up in labels, and labels are nice because it kind of categorizes things, but essentially, in my opinion, what it breaks down to is my experience, your experience, may be similar, but they're not the exact same thing. So anyhow, just wanted to touch on that. Now, he associates these 4 powers of the Magi with the Sphinx. Specifically, which has a human head, the wings of an eagle, the body of a bull, and the talons of a lion. Skyer, which is to know, human head representing air. Vele, which is to will, the lion claws and talons representing fire. Oder, which is the eagle wings representing water. And Tessere, which is to keep silent, the bull body and earth. So if you are familiar with how the Sphinx has a human head, the wings of an eagle, the body of a bull, the talons of a lion. So let us examine the 4 powers deeper through Levi's own words. Now the Magus is the creator of the little world, the first of all magical sciences being the knowledge of oneself. I think, therefore I am. So, to know. So I'm going to pull a quote from Transcendental Magic. These are my interpretations of it. It does not correlate exactly to each one of these 4 powers, but I associate each of these sections with each one of these: to know, to dare, to will, and to keep silent. So the first one is to know. The term, however, requires explanation, supreme reason being the sole, invariable, and consequently imperishable principle, what we term death being change. Hence the intelligence which cleaves closely to this principle and, in a manner, identifies itself therewith, does hereby make itself unchangeable and, as a result, immortal. To cleave invariable to reason, it will be understood that it is necessary to attain independence of all those forces which by their fatal and inevitable movement produces the alternatives of life and death. To know how to suffer, to forbear, and to die, such are the first secrets which place us beyond reach of affliction, the desires of the flesh and the fear of annihilation. Now, one of the interesting things, what came to my mind when I read this section, was in some shamanic practices, often the initiate who is becoming a shaman or a wise man or a wise person, is that they have to die and be reborn. Often there's the ritual itself is symbolic of the old life dying, the new life beginning. It is often associated with death as change, going from one state to another state. So I thought that was interesting. The second one is to dare. You are called to be a king of the air, water, earth, and fire. But to reign over these 4 animals of symbolism, it is necessary to conquer and enchain them. He who aspires to be a sage and to know the great enigma of nature must be the heir and despoiler of the Sphinx. His the human head in order to possess speech. His the eagle's wings in order to scale the heights. His the bull's flanks in order to furrow the depths. His the lion's talons to make a way on the right and the left, before and behind. End of quote.